If we move on to the life cycle of a pine as an example of the gymnosperms, we'll find four key features. This include the dominance of the sporophyte generation, development of seeds from fertilized ovules, the transfer of sperm to ovules by pollen, and the heterospority, or the presence of two types of sporangia. So let's highlight that in this life cycle. I know it may look crowded and full of details at the very beginning or the first look, but if you go through the cycle step by step in a simple way, it will become more easy. So let's start here with highlighting the four main features of the gymnosperms. So having sporophyte. So sporophyte is the dominant stage of the plant. So if you think of this tree, what you can see now, the part that you will see is the sporophyte, and as you remember, sporophytes are diploid stage. Also, we discussed that they are characterized by having seeds. So this seed is also having a seed coat, and we have the heterospority. So we have microsporangium and megasporangium, and lastly we have the pollen grains. So these are the general features of seed plants, including the gymnosperms. And let's start with the life cycle. So as we said, if we started here, we see that we have the mature sporophyte. This is the dominant stage. And one important thing that we have actually two types of cones. So we have the pollen cone and the ovulate cone. And this is the reason for having the heterospority. So this plants are heterosporous because they have two different types of structures that will give rise to the male and female gametophytes later on. So they are present in two different structures. So pollen cone is coming from the sporophyte, the same for the ovulate cone. So both of them, they are a diploid structure. Pollen cone will develop into the pollen grains. This will happen through meiosis, reducing it to N. So it is here a haploid pollen grains. As we said, these pollen grains are not flagellated. They don't require water, and as you will see here, we will not find any drops of water needed for fertilization. And this is one major important thing to highlight here in the gymnosperms, and that is, as we said, one of the contributing reasons for their ability to colonize new parts of the land. And if you think about the people who have allergy from pollen grains, they can even have this allergy although they don't live close to forest or a piece of or a garden. Or so how is that? Because the pollen grains can be carried by the winds for long distance. So this is regarding the pollen grains. Then the ovulate cone will give rise to the ovule, and this ovule will give the megasporangium. So can you see here that the ovule will give the megasporangium? And what will happen, as we said, the pollen grains. So pollen grains, they contain the sperms. So the sperms are actually enclosed in this pollen grain, which will be carried by the wind or the insects. And once they land on this megasporangium, so they can enter the megasporangium like that, and that will give the ability of the sperm to mature. It will form this pollen tube, and then fertilization will happen. Fertilization will happen and giving us the embryo. Now the embryo or the result of fertilization will be a diploid structure like that. So here, this structure, we have the embryo is a diploid state, and the food reservoirs are represented by N, so they are haploid, remember, because they are coming from the female gametophyte. Then this seed coat surrounding it, which is coming from the integument, which is actually coming from the ovule. So that will lead us to the seed, giving us to a seedling. Once they land on a suitable environment, this will grow, giving us the sporophyte, which is the dominant stage that we see in the seed plants. Okay, so let's move on. So to summarize, what we have seen in the adaptations of gymnosperms to the challenges of colonizing land, as usual, so the spores contain the sporopollenin, and in addition of that, we have also the presence of seeds. So in terms of the segregation of light, water, and nutrients, now this is a type of vascular plants, so they have roots, leaves, and vascular tissues, and how they survive the dry conditions in terms of evaporation. They have stomata and waxy cuticle, and how they survive the reproduction in this dry condition, because now they have the pollen grains. So now it is not dependent on the flagellated sperms. We have sperms, but it is not non-flagellated, and these sperms are enclosed in the pollen grains, which gives the advantage of reproduction and being dispersed in long or far areas without the dependency on water. Then how they solve the problem of lack of physical support. Now again, it is a type of vascular plants, so they have lignin in their vascular tissues, giving them the physical support. So that's it for the gymnosperms. Thank you so much. Please stay safe and stay healthy. Thank you.